Mr. J. Christopher, protect the righteous with wisdom and strength.
Right? So my first question for you is this. How does race, class, and gender usually impact workplace environments? What is that like?
Well, usually it's a tough word because, I mean, it really does depend upon the organizational context. So if you were in an organization where from the beginning people have valued diversity, have valued different perspectives and whatnot, race and gender and other differences can be a positive. Okay. If you're in an organization, if you look at kind of how our organizations kind of function traditionally, go back 20 years, 30 years and whatnot, then oftentimes being different, people experience it in a negative way. Because at the end of the day, most people are kind of naturally wired to want to replicate themselves. So if you look at the people who are at the top, if they're all white males, then it's just a natural thing for people to look at junior folks who are white men too.
You said something I thought was really interesting. You said people have a natural instinct to replicate themselves.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we park there for a second because I don't think that people are aware of this subconscious bias. And we do it in everything, whether it's sports, business, romantic relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Because the thing is if you find somebody who's like you and then they do well, that reflects back on you and your own self-esteem. So if I mentor somebody who's like me and then they're successful, then I get to bathe in that success. I mean, one of the things that's really funny about this phenomenon is you don't really even have to know the person. So for example, the Olympics are going on right now. Every time an American athlete wins, every American feels a little bit better. Although we don't know the person, we had nothing to do with their career, their training or whatnot, but we experience that as a positive thing. We call it in-group favoritism in psychology.
Is that your PhD at work right now, David?
Yeah, that's my PhD at work.
Because I'm just saying things and dropping science on things that I've never heard before. No, that's deep. That's deep. Okay, even though they don't know the athlete and they have no connection to the sport, they're an American, they did well, I'm okay.
Right.
Right?
I'm better than other people because I'm an American too. I mean, it's one of the things that another example, say if you are in college and you go overseas with a bunch of students from your school, you may all be different on your college campus, but then when you go to France, you're all Americans in this different place. And so you all bond together.
Interesting. And
so the thing that's really interesting about that conceptually is if I can find ways to identify with you to make you part of my in-group as opposed to part of my out-group, then we can make a connection. So if I'm going into the workplace and I am a black male and my boss is a white female, but I can find some way we connect. Say we went to the same university, say we grew up in the same hometown. I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, whatever. If I can find some place that we have in common, then I can go from being the out group to being an in group. And then she will view me in a very different way.
Mr. J. Christopher, protect the righteous with wisdom and strength.